Hey, good morning, everybody. It is October 24th, 6:35 a.m. Welcome back to the channel in beautiful, sunny Southern California. Good morning, everybody. Hey, Slack, Spiny Viking, Cubus, H. Mendoza. It is about a half an hour until the sun comes up. Until, I think, early November is when we do daylight savings time around here. And then things are really going to get screwed up. I don't care if it rains or freezes, as long as I've got my plastic Jesus glued to the dashboard of my car. Comes in colors pink and pleasant. Comes in colors pink and pleasant. Glows in the dark 'cause it's iridescent. Take it with you when you travel far. Get yourself a sweet Madonna, dressed in rhinestones, sitting on a pedestal of abalone shell. Going 90, it ain't scary, 'cause I got Virgin Mary assuring me that I won't go to hell. Get yourself a sweet Madonna, dressed in rhinestones, sitting on a pedestal of abalone shell. Going 90, it ain't scary, 'cause I got Virgin Mary assuring me that I won't go to. That was Plastic Jesus. Paul Newman sang that song in Cool Hand Luke, where he also ate 50 eggs. Cool Hand Luke is the movie that has the line I think we have a failure to communicate. That's where that line comes from. Yeah, he was in prison. I mean, no spoilers here because this happens in the first 5 minutes of the movie. He starts walking down the street with a giant wrench and he knocks the heads off of all the parking meters. So they send him to jail. And then the whole rest of the movie takes place with him in jail. And at one point in jail, he attempts to win a bet by eating 50 hard-boiled eggs. But he also sings that song. And it's actually a really good movie. I mean, it's Paul Newman. What's not to love? Cool Hand Luke. Cool Hand Luke. Paul Newman. I think he might have written that song, actually. All right, today we are going to get back to Gravity Ace. We've been hard at work on Dome for the past week, but now it's GA time, so let's get that going. I want to really get this. Oh, come on. I want to get this thing out the door. And to do that, we need this. And yeah, we have some fixes we need to do. I don't have a whole lot of time today, unfortunately. But let's do this. Let's start this today. These bugs, I don't. But this guy, I think we can work on. And then this and this, I think we can work on. Maybe let's do this one first. It kind of doesn't matter. I need to do all of these, so maybe we'll do this one first. Save difficulty settings and options. Yeah, let's do that one. That one I have a much clearer path to being able to do it. I always wanted to ask, if I may, how did you end up working on Dome? It's a funny story. So I worked on Gravity Ace for a long time, right? I've been working on Gravity Ace since 2018. And it has generated some buzz, as the kids say, as the marketing kids say. It's got good buzz, good virals. I don't know what people say. Anyway, it was out there. People have seen it. Like, if you click my name, there's a link to it, right? It looks good. I'm not ashamed to say it. I think it looks good. It looks good. It's a fun game. It's published. It's out there, right? So, with all that going for me, here's the funny part. So how did I get the job with Dome? One day I just posted on Twitter and said, hey, is anybody hiring? And Renee said, hey, I'm hiring. And we talked, and then he hired me. That's how it went down. And he wasn't the only one. It was really weird. Like, I didn't actually expect to get job offers from doing that. But I talked to like 4 or 5 people. And Renee and I talked, and that was the one I went with. All right. So, yeah. Ask for what you want, I guess, is the lesson there. Just ask. Just tell people what you want and see if they'll give it to you. Sometimes it works out great. To do this task, we need to look at options. We need to look at config, and we need to look at pause. Do we? No, we don't need to look at pause. So if I add the difficulty options in here, right, somewhere in here, this can already be accessed from the pause menu. So you can change your difficulty as you play by just going to the options menu. I don't need to modify the pause menu. Close that. So I just need to add it in here. But I do still want it to be, what is it called? Launch level launcher, right? I still want it to be here. How come that's not showing up? Oh, right. I still want it to be here so that you can choose when you play. But I want to serialize this data and save it into here, which is why I need config, because config is where all of my configuration settings, all of my options are serialized. So let's do this first. I guess I can walk you through this real quick, if you guys are interested. Yeah, config's a singleton. It won't take long. Config's a singleton, right? So I can access it from anywhere just by saying config dot, and then it has a ready. And what ready does is when this thing gets added to the scene tree, which happens automatically because it's a singleton, when the game boots, it loads the config file. Pretty simple. Does some things. Then it has some public methods, right? So there's restore, which opens the config file, sets a bunch of defaults for all the config settings, and then it loops through the config file and sets all the config settings from the file. So if there's something missing from the file or if the file's not here, then it just goes with whatever the defaults were. And then it has a save, which does the opposite. It just takes all that config dictionary stuff here and saves it back to the config file. Then I have a method for getting a config value, for setting a config value. When you set a config value, it sets it, it saves it, and it applies any side effects. So side effects are things that happen because a config changed. So whenever a config value changes, it saves it and it sets the side effects. For example, if you turn on vsync, it actually does that, right? It enables vsync or disables it. If you change the config for the volume, it actually contacts the audio server, gets the music bus, changes the volume, or the sound effects bus and changes the volume, full screen, right? Dead zones, right? And then what else is in here? There's some other stuff. Detect when a joystick is added or removed. A gamepad. And then remap controls. What is this thing? I think this is primarily handling this isn't really doing what this is probably misnamed. But what it's doing is it's just detecting which joypads are available. Yeah. Godot calls it a joypad. You might call it a gamepad. Other people call it a different thing, but in Godot it's called a joy thing. And then what is all this? This is just a list of events. Yeah. So this isn't really... I could probably remove this from the game. Nobody would care. It doesn't really do anything. It just handles plugging and unplugging. Same with this. Anyway, so that's it. Very simple, right? So what I need to do is just say I need two new config values, right? One is difficulty and one is auto aim, right? Hey, Hood is Hood. It is Godot. Yes, indeed. So we will add these right here. Actually, what's a good place to add them? I'm going to add a new section, I think. Yeah, I'm going to add a new section here for difficulty. Yeah, probably after speedrun before it adjusts gamepad. Different screens, okay. This is the state of the options. It's got a bunch of different screens. It turns them on and off, tracks which screen is showing, blah, blah, blah. That's all fine. So I can put this anywhere. Let's just put it at the bottom and we'll say config difficulty and config auto aim. And I need to go look at my whatchamacallit, my oh man, why is that doing that? There we go. Yeah, I've got difficulty easy, normal, and hard. And that sets game difficulty. Ooh, but that would actually change. That would actually change. Okay, that's fine. Game difficulty easy, normal, and hard. And auto target is just a true false. Okay. So give difficulty and auto target equals false, difficulty equals game difficulty normal. Okay, those are the defaults. Yeah, that's it. So now I just need to add the screen. And I suppose I could copy. These, but I'm not going to. Yeah, I'm not going to. Because I want it to fit in with the rest of the, well, maybe I should copy this. I actually should copy this. Okay, let's do this panel first. So in here, I want to copy one of these as a example. Let's copy this one. And we'll call it screen difficulty. And panel label is going to be difficulty. Okay, and then I'm going to delete all of these. And I'm going to call this one button auto target. Yeah, button auto target. And we're going to call it auto target. And that's going to go to disconnect. We're going to go to auto target pressed. And this is going to say config set auto target with button auto target dot pressed. Right? If it's pressed, that's true or false, right? If it's pressed or not pressed. And it's just going to set that auto target config setting. So now we have a way to change auto target. And then difficulty is going to be a little more difficult. Difficulty is a little more difficult because I want to copy this whole UI here. Second place in Game Jam with an inexperienced team. It's amazing what we got done in Godot in 2 days. Congratulations. Hey, Judd. I need some stars. Robert Capper, good morning. Oh, man. All right. Difficulty panel. Difficulty buttons. Let's copy all of this. Let's take all of you, put you there. This is making me think I need to take these star things and actually, you know, like turn it into like an actual control. Do I have any other options that are kind of similar to this? Let's see. Speedrun is all buttons. No. This kind of got a label and then a choice, right? that up here too. You know what? I think for now, this is, yeah, I think for now, let's just remove all of this. Let's just do it this way for now. Okay. Let's just get it working. Then we can figure this out stuff. We can figure this stuff out later. So difficulty, container, difficulty options. Let's disconnect that. We'll reconnect it with the correct name. And we're going to do shake options. Yeah. We're going to do that. Difficulty. Okay, so we need to populate that drop down, A, and then we also need to set the initial state of those buttons when you look at the screen. So that's what all this code in Ready does. When you open the options panel or options scene, it does this, right? Which is basically setting all the values, getting the config, and updating the controls so they look right. So we're going to do the same thing here, and we're going to say, we're going to do something like this for the difficulty options. Like that. And these are going to be easy, normal, hard. Right, and that's going to be game dot difficulty easy, game dot difficulty normal, and game dot, I may refactor this, difficulty hard, so that these are config variables, maybe. It makes more sense if I do that, I think. But then I also need to just say that, whoops. Right, so now the right one is going to be selected. And then I want to do the same thing here. Except this is going to be auto target. Auto target pressed is going to be equal to config.get auto target. So if I put it on easy and auto target on and close it and reload it, it didn't remember this. It didn't remember this, but it remembered this. Off. Right, it's remembering. So why isn't it remembering the difficulty? Let's say difficulty hard. Oh, it did remember it. Easy. Easy. Normal. Okay, so it's working, right? It's remembering it, and we can confirm that by looking at the settings. If we look at gravity settings, where are the gravity settings? These are not going to be there. They're going to be in... here. So there it is. Right? It's serializing them. It's doing the whole deal. Okay. We need to add this screen. So let's add a difficulty screen. We will hide that by default. Show that by default. We're going to go to screen main. And then in that go to screen, it has a big thing. See, it's just, bleh, right? So we're going to say difficulty hide. And if screen difficulty. Oh, and I need a button. I need a button in here. I need a button. Let's put it right here. Call it button difficulty. Go to screen. Okay. There. I didn't change the label. Let's change the label on it. Difficulty. Back. Controls. Oh yeah, I'm working on that. Back. Video, right? Audio. Speed run. Difficulty. Boop, boop. Okay. Let's refactor. Now we need to refactor two things. One, let's, and this is going to break things for just a minute, but that's fine. One is let's take this stuff out of here. And this, we're going to take these away. And we're going move this to a config, like that. Okay, pass John. We won't put any spaces after the braces, that's fine. Past me, if that's how you like it, that's how we'll do it. So that gets saved, and then in options we should see some warnings or some red lines. That should be red. I bet you will get a, yeah, we get a break. Okay, so this is going to be config. And run it again, right here. This is going to be config. I don't know why these aren't turning red. Like that. And then we want to look for these. So here, this is going to be config, 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 config. This is where a typed language comes in, a winner, because you can do refactoring really easy. Yep. Here we're going to do the same thing. That's going to become like that. Okay. So here, this now becomes config.get difficulty. Right? If the configuration is set to difficult, if it's easy, then do that. If it's normal, do that. If it's hard, do that, right? If the config is set that way. Before it was a global game variable. And then we also want game.auto target, game.auto, there it is. So this is going to be config.get auto target. That's going to be config.set auto target, like that. This is not config.difficult, it's going to be config.get difficulty. And all these are not config.difficulty either. It's going to be yeah, this is all wrong. I want to say something like var diff equals config.get difficulty. And then say difficulty like that, like that, and then say config.set difficulty. Like that. And then here, config get, ... Right, so we had auto target. Game.autotarget is going to change to config.get auto target. I feel like I have something on my clipboard and I don't know what it is. Yeah, okay, it's fine. Right. Here. There. Right. That. 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 All right. So that's refactored everything. So now everything is, instead of using the game singleton to get the difficulty and the auto targeting setting, it gets it from config. And I've moved the config.difficulty. I've moved the enum from game to config as well. Yes, multi-cursor IDE, definitely, right? That would have been super handy. If this editor had multi-cursor, if I could just bounce on Control D and then change a bunch of stuff, I would love it. I would love that. And sometimes when I have a big refactor, I'll just do it in VS Code instead of here. But this editor is good enough. It's good enough for what I need most of the time. Is multi-cursor coming to Godot? That would be dope. That would be sick. Nice. All right, so we've got this. I can do it like that. I can do that. Okay. And then let's play. If I go in here and start and say, yeah, make it hard and turn auto targeting off, and cancel, go back here, look at the options, hard and off. And if I set it to easy and on, it's at easy and on. It's all connected. So now if I set that to easy and on, well, let's set it to hard and on. And then we close the game. And then I run it again. It should remember that for the next time. See, it's hard and on. If I go down here and say it's easy on, quit, run. I'm such a child. Then it's easy on. All right, so that all works. I suppose we should play it and make sure that there's no bugs in actual running the game. Let's just make sure all this works. No warnings. I don't see anything in the debugger. Yikes, yikes. Ay, ay, ay. that was in classic mode. No! This guy is hard to kill. Anyway, it seems to be working okay. Three warnings in the debugger now. I don't know why. Look at those in a sec. Auto aim really does make these controls easier, which is good. That was the intent. So much gas. How much y'all paying for gas these days? I think we're finally under $6 here. $6 per gallon. Per gallon. So maybe not as bad as folks who are on liters. Gotta open that gate. I'm gonna open that gate and then I'm gonna stop. Look at those debugger warnings. Perfecto. Oh, don't touch those walls. Here we go. Doop. Ah, yeah. I think this level needs to be redesigned. Because there's a button here, and you can accidentally shoot it. And the only reason the button's there is because sometimes you might get stuck in this area, and so you need a way to reopen this gate, right? Like, sometimes players will come here and they won't understand that they need to actually bring the reactor core here first. And if you shoot this first, right, now that gate closes and now you can't go back and get the reactor core, so you need to shoot the button. But with auto targeting especially, and then you need to put the thing back on, this needs to be redesigned. Don't even know where that thing went. Don't even know where the crate went, and I need it. Yeah, so now you need to put the crate back to open that gate again. Basically, I need to redesign this level and the way these gates activate in such a way that you don't need that button anymore, that emergency button. That button. Because with auto-targeting especially, it's going to automatically shoot it. And it's going to make the problem even worse. Let's add that to the list because that just needs to happen. Okay, so we did that. Save difficulty settings in options, done. Let's do a commit. This would be a good opportunity to review all the code and all the changes we've just done too, just to make sure that they're good. Array of emotions. You missed that feature as well. Yeah, me too. Hey, Fragment. Hey, some coding guy. Nice looking game. I love Godot. Cheers to you. Thanks for that. Sorry, Cubus. Let's connect that. While I crunch ice on mic. Yeah, you can do a flip now. Yeah, I'm in California. Multi-carat. Yes. Yes. Within a single file, this really helps refactoring tremendously. Across files, it doesn't help at all, but I'll take what I can get. With a dynamically typed language, you can't really safely do cross-file renaming of variables or symbols anyway. Sweet. Yeah, very, very sweet. Cool. I'm excited that that's coming. $3.30 a gallon in Connecticut. Glad you left California. We're talking about gas prices, Judd. How much you paying? What state are you in and how much you paying? We're just under $6 here. Depends on where I go, but it's on the bubble. Sometimes it's $5.75, sometimes it's $6.20. $3.50 Massachusetts. I filled up a 13-gallon tank the other day. It cost me $80. What is that? $6.15 I paid the other day. I'm glad that I don't drive very much. If I had to drive, 40 miles a day for work or whatever, no, it would be too expensive. I was doing the math and I was thinking like, okay, if the average distance that someone commutes to work every day is 20 miles, then they're doing a 40-mile round trip times 5, right? They're doing 200 miles a week. Let's assume they have a pretty gas-efficient car that gets 35 miles a gallon. Well, 40 out of 35. It's costing them $6 a day, $6.85 a day just in gas, just to drive their car to work and back. And then they put another, this is California, so they spend $13 on lunch. So they're spending about $20 a day just to go to work, just to have a job. And they're working 20 hours a week, or no, 20 days a month, right? 365 divided by 52. That's 7. Duh. They're working 5 days a week times 52 weeks, right? Times $20 a day. They're spending $5,000 a year just to have a job. And they might only be making, $25,000 a year. So 20% of their take-home pay is just for gas and food and stuff, just to have the job. I don't know. That's rough. Hey, Piero. Welcome, welcome. Okay, code review. We're pretending we just did a pull request and I'm reviewing the code that I just changed. So I changed game auto target to the config setting. Simple, 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 correct. Here, yep, yep. And here, yep. And then what is this? This is an old command that I removed. Okay. Here, yep, 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 yep. That looks all correct. Launcher, setting the auto targeting button to that, yep. And then down here, this is a little bit more complicated, but I'm just basically saying instead of setting this directly, game.difficulty, I should be setting config.difficulty. And so I have this intermediate variable diff, which gets the current value, does some manipulation on it, and then saves it again. Instead of just what it was doing before, which is just manipulating it directly. I have to do it this way because I'm saving it. This actually serializes the file when I call set. And I don't want to do it once and then twice. I just want to do it once. So that's why I introduced this intermediate variable. And then the same thing here, but the logic's the same, right? Get the difficulty, add 1 to it. If it's greater than config or less than config, then clamp it, right? And then save it. That's new. Great. And then this shows the stars. So again, changing game difficulty to config, game to config, game to config, game to config, and then saving the config for auto targeting here, and saving the config for difficulty here and here. So that looks like all good. This should all be new. Yeah, this is my control remapping code. There's my new difficulty stuff. This is all the other stuff. This is all my keyboard remapping stuff. This is the new screen difficulty in the options. Screen difficulty. I moved that, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. And then this is my new stuff here, right, for setting auto targeting and difficulty. In the ship, right, we've got this. Looks good. Right, move those there. That's great. Defaults. Yep. And remove them from there. So this is all good. So yeah, I'm going to actually commit this because this is just moving options, moving the difficulty to config. Yes. Moving the difficulty to config. Yes. Difficulty to config. Yes. Dialog box. Difficulty to config. Yes. There's some mixed up stuff in there. Let's just stage this hunk. Try to separate these two things that I was working on. So I will stage that hunk. And we'll stage this hunk. This is something else. We'll stage this hunk. And stage that hunk. Okay, so that's options. And see, look, this is why I love the staging area in Git. So now I've got an options GD that just shows the changes I just made, and it's separated out from the other changes that I made for a different reason. I have options GD here and here, and I can see the diffs between them. If I click this one, I see the diffs between here and what's staged. And if I click here, I see the difference between what's staged and what's committed. So this is just the difficulty stuff. I think I want to I want all of that actually. Yeah, I want all of this. Does that do what I think? I think that's too much. That's going to pull in too much. How come I can't unstage all this stuff? Well, let's just do this. Let's take that and just paste it back here. What do you mean I can only edit? Or was that line 101? Right before on button save pressed. Right there. right? Okay. And then this, I want to stage that hunk. That one. That one. All of those. Everything but that, basically. Launcher. I want to stage the whole thing. Yeah, I'm basically just leaving out this stuff. That has that, yeah. So here I can actually remove that again. Now that I've restaged it, I can delete this. Oh, come on. Open file. Just do that. So this has that gone again, right? Which is correct, but this still has it. So yeah, the only thing left is, oh, rats. That's all difficulty. That's fine. That's fine. That is not fine. I think I can leave it. Yep, okay. And then this, yeah. All right, so I'm gonna stage those hunks. Leave that out. Leave that out. Take all of this. Whoa. Stage all that. And then stage all that. This would have been easier if I just committed the other thing or stashed it first, right? I'm only doing this because I messed up, right? I shouldn't have done this with a dirty tree, but I did. And then also, I don't actually technically have to do this. Whoops. I don't technically, oh shit. Yeah, I don't technically have to do this, but I am because I want the separate commits. So this is moved difficulty to config, right? And now I can do another commit, which is just this other stuff. It's just something different. That may help me later down the road, you know, where I'm like, you know, where did this bug come in? It's all going back to making commits that aren't too big so that you can find problems that you've had or errors that you introduced without looking at a billion lines of code. Now I can just look at a fewer lines of code because I've got nice tidy commits. Anyway, the Git staging area and the client and VS Code make that much less painful than it could have been. All right, so that's that. We just need to get back to this. Gamepad mapping, serialize the input map, deserialize the input map. We might be able to do some of this. Let's try this one. Testing. Test it. Everything, tires to screen wipes to insurance, paid parking, washes, time that could have been earned actually lost on steering wheel, maintenance of exploding engine to money and time. Want to suspend to get rid of the accumulation of someone stealing your wheels, paying for all the security cameras. You have to have a garage. You have to have a place to park the thing. You were talking about Steam and marketing? Sure. Yeah. You got any questions? Hey, Klaus. That was some coding guy. Yeah, if you want to talk about Steam marketing, we can talk about it. I'm no expert, but happy to talk about it. Are you enjoying GDScript? Do you see a real plus? I do enjoy GDScript, and the plus is that GDScript is extremely easy to learn, and it's very well integrated into the engine, and you can, make a change and run the game. Let's count. 1001, 1002. It's running, right? It took 2 seconds. And I can even change the game while it's running, right? So let's do that. So like here, for example, let's look at those stars. If I go to the start scene, there's some code in here for the moving the stars. Does that happen? Oh, it happens in ready. Oh no, here it is. So look, I can change the speed of the stars just by doing this. Right? I'm making changes to the code and it happens live in the game. And it's just instant. So that's a huge plus. It's gigantic. And GDScript's a fine language. And it's fast enough. Most of this stuff is just glue code anyway. It's just telling the engine to do something, and the engine's written in C++, so the engine's fast. So GDScript is great. What I was doing was like a surgical operation. Yeah, it felt like it a little bit. I was doing code surgery. Wow. But 10% is a good return. You got 10% of them to play it. A peak of 2,000 views during the broadcast. The thing about the Steam Next broadcasts that I don't like is that anybody browsing the Steam page sees it and they get counted as a viewer, even though they may not actually be watching the broadcast at all. You know how it appears, and then you scroll down and it just stays on the screen, and you're like, get out of here. You're not watching it. But Steam counts them as a view anyway. If you end up sometimes you'll end up on this Next Fest homepage for a few minutes, and your view count will just go up, like 50,000 people, and you're like, wow, 50,000 people are watching. They're not. They just happen to be on that page, and you happen to be on that page, and it's just luck. But they're not watching. So, yeah, this number I don't think really means anything, unfortunately. Wow, 29 streamers played the game, and then they also did a survey. I mean, my first question is, who are these streamers that have so much time that they can do a survey after they play a demo? I can't be bothered to do surveys. I can't even be bothered to get paid to do surveys. It's just not worth it. It's such a... Ugh. Yeah. I mean, one thing that's missing here, I don't think he covers it, is how many of those people actually bought the game. Like, of all these views and everything that he got, did it actually move the needle at all? He doesn't say. He did get some survey responses. He got some views on his broadcast. Has some things he wants to do next time. Right, and some of them might have been very small streamers. Right, so not bad, not bad. Like, their average following count of those 29 people was this. I reckon it was mostly, he doesn't post the mean, but I imagine the mean is much closer to 83 than 68K. Not the mean, the median. When you're looking at numbers like this, statistics, right? You say, look, the max was 68K, the min was 80, and the average was 55. And so you think, wow, the average of these 29 people is 5,500 viewers. That's pretty good. But the median of those 29 streamers might have been 85, which means half of them are below 85, and half of them have more than 85. And it's because, these big numbers skew the averages higher and gives you kind of a false view of everybody should take a statistics class. Anyway, mean and median, especially with large ranges, you really need the median to make more sense of this number. Yeah, no, it's cool. I'm impressed actually that he's after 351 contacts, he got 10% to play it. That actually surprises me. 10% is pretty good. If nothing else, that shows that maybe the game that he's making is interesting to people, because 10% is a very good response rate. But he doesn't share how he contacted them either, really. Maybe he lied to all of them. I don't know. I don't think that that's true. I have no basis for making that statement. Would like to hear whatever you think works better or worse for getting visibility on the Steam store as an indie. You have a relatively modest marketing budget. I mean, I don't know what works. The thing is, lots of people say, what works is make a great game. But I've seen lots of great games that get no visibility. So that's not it, not by itself. And then I've seen other people say, well, you need to have, spend a lot of money on marketing or whatever. And I've seen people do that with success, but I've also seen lots of people with zero budget hit it big and come out the gate with tons of attention. I've seen terrible games getting lots of press, right? I think we all have. It comes down to, there's a couple things in your control and there's lots of things out of your control, is what it comes down to. And one of the things that's in your control is how you tell people about the game and what you tell them and how often you tell them. So definitely do that. It increases the odds that you're going to get some visibility, but it's not a guarantee. And then there's, you can make the game look good and sound good. Those help, right? Those also increase your odds. So make a good game, yes. Make it look good and sound good, yes. Tell lots of people about it all the time, yes. All those are great. Do those things. But it only gives you a possibility, right? It just gives you a probability of getting attention, not a guarantee. That's because there's so much stuff that's out of your control, like timing. The world may just be looking somewhere else when you announce your thing. The whole world, just some other event in the world may be happening that's captured everyone's attention. It could be another game, it could be a war, who knows? But something else big could be happening and people just miss your announcement. Another thing that can happen is that the game that you're making the time might not be ripe, for it. Some games are just, some things in life, many things actually, depend on timing. For example, like right now is the right time to have commercial space launches for rockets into space, right? If you came up with it 30 years ago and tried to do it, you couldn't do it. I mean, the market wasn't there, the technology wasn't there. And if you waited another 10 years from now, it's probably too late. Like right now is the sweet spot of time. And it doesn't matter how good the idea was before now, or even after now. It just can't happen at any other time but now. And that's not in your control. You're born when you're born, and you're working on something when you're working on it, and it's just the way it is. So, yeah, do all the things, but just keep in mind, it's not a guarantee. And this is why other people's advice is not very useful, because what worked for them won't work for you. You can do exactly the same things, and it won't work. And it's because it worked for them because there was a bit of timing involved, there was a bit of luck involved, things out of their control. And they did these other things that helped increase the odds. And you can do those same things to help increase the odds, but your timing and luck are not going to be the same as their timing and luck. So that's why other people's advice is usually worthless. What if you just want to make an okay game quickly and then make lots of them over time? If you want to do that, and I advocate for that, I really do. I think that's a great way to be. You should go check out this guy. He has a great YouTube channel. Go follow his devlogs on his YouTube channel. They're great. I'm going to paste this in. So, Orange Pixel, he's been making games for 20 years. And I think he lives in the Netherlands. And he just makes these small games. He makes a couple of them every year. And over time, he's built up this large back catalog of games. And they're all making a little bit of money. None of them have been monster hits. None of them. But they make enough. And he gets by. And he's been doing this full time for 20 years. So, success, right? And he just makes small games, puts them out quickly. They're good games. But he makes them quickly, puts them out quickly, and puts out a lot of them. And over the years, that's turned into a steady income stream for him. I mean, it's kind of a treadmill. I guess if he stopped making them, he would instantly start seeing a decline in his income over time. So you have to keep making them. But, it works. It works for him anyway. And the odds that you're going to create a great game that's going to really be a huge hit goes up the more games you make. The more you make, the better your luck, right? The harder you work at something, the better your luck is. If your odds are 1 in 100, if you only make one, you have to be really lucky. But if you make 100, then odds are you're going to hit it. One of those is going to hit it. So the more you make, the luckier you get, right? That's a strategy I've been trying to follow myself. Put out 2 games a year, but I just haven't had the time. So instead I put out 1 game every 4 years. I guess if you count Dome, Dome came out 22, so that's 2 games in 4 years, but it's still not great. And, Dome's not really my game anyway, so I'm leaving it out. Always mystified by things like Vampire Survivors. See, that's an example of timing. Flappy Birds as well. If you made Flappy Birds now, no one would give a shit. Timing was the thing. And if the guy who made Flappy Birds had released it a year earlier or a year later, maybe even a week earlier or a week later, nothing would have happened. We'd have never heard of it. For whatever reason, the entire gaming world was just ripe for it. They were just ready for it. They were all looking that direction right when he announced it. For whatever reason. And boom, it happened, right? Same thing with Vampire Survivors. It's a twin-stick shooter, for God's sakes, but it just doesn't have the second stick. It's not a new game. There's nothing really about it. He just mashed together a couple of things, right? But I think that's another situation where the world was just ripe for that at that moment. And if he released it now, no one would give a shit. It was just the right day, the right time, the right place, with the right thing, and people were all looking in the correct direction, and they were ready for it. And none of those things were in his control, or her control. I don't know who made the game. None of those things were in their control when they released it. They just made this game and released it and hoped for the best. I don't know. I could be completely wrong. Maybe there's some huge marketing machine behind that game that I don't know about, but I don't think that's the case. And there's lots of people making Vampire Survivor likes now, and most of them are going to fail. They're not all going to be big hits. That's just the way it is. Some of them are going to be better than Vampire Survivors, but none of them are going to be as big as. Many games get picked up by random streamer communities, get massively popular years after they're released. Sure, right? But that's an example of timing where it's something that's out of your control. Why did it get massively popular years after release? Maybe they released it, they were too soon. The world wasn't ready for that game at that time. Maybe that streamer saw it when it first came out and they're like, pass. But then years later, they were just in the mood for it. And all their viewers were in the mood for it too. And so it became huge. You can't control that. You can't predict it. You can't control it. It's just luck, right? There's a lot of luck involved. OMG, OMG Godzilla. Gojira! Yeah, I made Gravity Ace. Awesome game. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Welcome to the stream. Among Us got popular years later. I don't think the Vampire Survivors genre is going to last long. I mean, the thing about genres is they never go away. They just decline in popularity. I think the genre is always going to be there. But I get what you're saying. It's not gonna be as popular. I think it's probably a fad. Yeah, I think it's probably a fad because everybody saw the popularity of Vampire Survivors, so everybody tries to make a new, their own version of it while it's popular. There's going to be a bunch of them. Everybody's going to get tired of it, and then it'll decline, right? And then if you try making one, you're going to be at this long tail section where it's like, yeah, I've already played them. I'm kind of over it. What's the next new thing, right? There are these trends, just like in fashion or any other thing with games. Things come in and out of fashion. And I think Vampire Survivors is definitely a trendy game. But I could be wrong, you know? Maybe it has long-lasting core appeal and it'll be popular every year forever. It's hard to say. But it feels trendy and faddy, like a fad to me. Brotato still got huge though, and it's an arena survivor. Brotato though. I mean, there's all these absurdist type games, right? Like Brotato. There's that new one with the squirrel with a gun. There's Goose Game. There was the Goat Game. You know, Quap. Right? There's a lot of these really just bizarre, weird games that I think are popular because they're so absurd. But there's not room for a lot of them, I don't think. Like, if you took this Brotato formula and made an identical version of it, but it wasn't a potato, if it wasn't a potato, I don't think anybody would care. And if you made another one that also had a potato, I also don't think anybody would care because they've already got that one. It's just, again, I think timing and luck play a big factor. I actually haven't seen Brotato. I just have heard of it. So, and I don't mean to like sound harsh or anything or jealous. All these people making these games, I wish I was them. I wish I had made Vampire Survivors, and I was sitting on a mountain of cash right now. So congratulations to them. I'm glad they did it. I'm glad that they made something successful and popular that people liked, and they should be proud of their achievements. All I'm saying, I guess, is that with every success story, a lot of it is luck and timing, and I don't think people acknowledge that enough. There's the story of the genius innovator, right? Which I think is bullshit. Elon Musk is not a genius innovator. He was a rich kid who grew up with a sapphire mine. Anyway, let's not talk about Elon. Elon is banned. If Elon Musk shows up here, we will ban him. But he never got a success like that. Next game was McPixel. Actually, Renee just was talking about this effect, right? Like, they've made a bunch of games too. The BitMeBits team, they've made several small games, right? Mice and Moggles, Caravan. They've done a bunch of little indie jams and stuff. Mice and Moggles is on Steam, though, so that one's an interesting one. And it's on Steam. And you would think, well, now that he's so famous because of Dome, that Mice and Moggles would be selling like crazy. But it's not. It's not. They just want Dome. They don't care about Bip and Bits. They don't care about the other games that he's made. They only care about this one. Nobody's buying the other ones. So one success does not guarantee the next success. Fame does not guarantee that everything you've done in the past will be lifted up. It's just one thing at a time. You get one swing at a time, right? And sometimes that you connect and sometimes you don't. That's one of the reasons people make sequels, yeah. Because you're taking something that you know people already like. And so the risk is lower. There's still risk. Like everybody hated the last SimCity game, right? It was like SimCity 1 billion or whatever it was. But people hated it. And then City Skylines came along, ate their lunch. But it does reduce the risk, right? If you've got Call of Duty 1 and 1 billion people played it, of course you're going to make Call of Duty 2. You would be a fool not to. Oh man. Let's try and do one more thing before I hang up. Let's try and start this. No. I was about to make the same mistake that I already made. We got to commit this stuff first. So what is this? This is, I removed a command. I changed my input mapping events a little bit. Yeah, we did this key remapping stuff, right? Yeah, so we can commit this now. Ooh, I almost made the same mistake twice. What a dope I would have been. Key remapping. Work in progress. I'm just committing on master because I'm the only person working on this game, so it doesn't matter. Otherwise, normally I would do it in a branch. Like when I'm working on Dome, I usually work in a feature branch, do a bunch of commits, and then when it's finally all working and good, then I merge it. I do like a squash merge back into master, main. I think I don't using master. Merge it back and then push that, and then everybody can get a working thing, right? I try never to push anything to main that's not working. But in this game, I do try that, and this works technically, but it's ugly. It's not complete. If I had more discipline, I guess I would do a feature branch and then merge it when it was done, just in case some emergency came up and I needed to build something on main and didn't want to, I don't know. Anyway, the point is that doesn't happen with my game, and it's fine, and it's all good. So I'm not too worried about it. So now we've got a clean working branch. We can do something different, and I kind of want to take a look at this. Let me close this. Let's open, actually let me open options again, and then just, options, and just look at where I'm saving my keys and everything. Yeah, here's the thing. So these are the actions that I want to actually serialize. So I think first thing is I need to hoist this up one level because I want to access it in config. Yeah, I think this should be in config. So I'm going to copy that, and then I'm going to say input actions, something like that. and then load config, and then put it here. Right, these are the controls that I want mapped, and now they're in config, so they're global, or they're namespaced in config. So I can say config.input actions and just access these here. So this will continue to work, doing that. And this is fine to do this because I don't want to end up with this, right? Because that is just starting to get ridiculously long and ugly. So that's better. That would be even better. I tend to prefer this because this is much more understandable. This is easier to parse. I can just look at this and go, okay, get me the action for this control scheme. Perfect. And I can kind of intuit what the data structure is. If I'm doing this, it's just more difficult to parse. And then if I do this, see, it just gets harder to read. It's not nearly as clear to me. But that's all we're going to do right now. I just want to change one line at a time. So that should be fine. This should still work. Oh, this can't be a constant. What do you mean? Oh. Because it hasn't, okay. Okay, that's fine. I wonder if I need two different structures for this. I might need a const input actions and just have it be an array. Throw us up like this. I might just need that. That's actually probably all I need there. And then here, this, yeah, that works. And then this, can stay there, because this is all about, in the options panel, like how you're going to map these actions to controls and labels and what you're going to call them. And this is more concerned with what are we going to actually serialize, because we don't want to serialize every action. We just want to serialize some of them. Yeah, I think that's right. So I'll just have to keep these in sync, which is not a big deal. It's not a big deal. It's fine. A little bit of duplication in these names, but that's fine. So I'm not changing options at all, really. Just this guy. Oh. I started trying Godot out, but I'd like some basic placeholder graphics. I looked at the marketplace and found exactly zero. Anyone has suggestions? Yeah, use Kenny. Kenny is your guy for placeholder graphics. Do that. But also, what I like to do is just use, what I'll do real quickly is just make a block. So I use Sprite, and I'll pick, you can pick your screen size and everything. But then I just make one of these. Everything's a cube. And if I want different characters in the game, I can have my, let's say we add a 2D scene, we add a sprite, right, like that, and that sprite gets, yeah, why not, we'll use that, right, so that's, whatever, it's a placeholder, it doesn't even matter what it is, right, and then if I want it to be a enemy, like he can be an enemy, and this one can be a floor tile, right? And maybe the floor tiles need to be like red, and the enemies need to be, purple, right? And then here's my player, walking on the wall, and then blap, bouncing that guy's head, and then run away. That's how I usually do placeholder art. Just make a white square. That's all you need. But yeah, Kenny's great. If not for Starlink, you wouldn't have high-speed internet, so there's that. Yeah, but if Elon wasn't around, somebody else would have just invented Starlink because the time is right for it. It's like when the telephone was invented, multiple people invented the telephone. Multiple people invented the theory of evolution. I think multiple people invented calculus. It was just all at the time. That was the right time, so it was going to be invented. And there were a couple of people who were just in the position to do the inventing. They were almost like, I don't know, it's getting a little spiritual. It was almost like they were tools of the universe. He was using them. I'd rather make it easy to read than clever. Yeah, totally. Yeah, everything is the Godot logo. Yeah. The Godot logo is really super helpful. And if you're using 3D, then if you're doing 3D, then what I usually use is just the mesh instances. These are my placeholders. And then you have a bunch of shapes you can use that are just built in. So the player might be a capsule, and the enemies might be little prisms. Whoa, what is going on? Wild. You have lots of choices. The OG math feud. Hey, Javi. Microsoft is competing with Starlink, just Starlink was faster at releasing. Intelligent life is a way for the universe to know itself. Yeah. We are the universe looking at itself. All right, so serialize the input map. So in here, not in here, in here, in config, now that I've got this list of actions, when I go to save the config file, right, I'm saving this file. Yeah, gravityace.config. This guy, right? So I have settings in here. And then I probably also want to have a section of like key map. Something like that. And this would be all the key mappings. So to do that, I'm going through the config keys and I'm setting this. Config file is a really neat class, by the way. If you didn't know config file, it's built into Godot. Config file basically lets you create files like this really easily. It lets you create them, save them, load them, super easy. And all my config classes is just a wrapper around that. Right? I use config file for everything. So I say save, and it's saving this dictionary to that thing by just saying here's the section, here's the key, here's the value. Save them. And Godot handles it. And when I get it, when I load it, it sets defaults, and then it just loads that config file. For every key in that section settings, load it. So I need another section here that says for action in input actions, right? And I want to do something like set value key map or input map, and then action, and then something, right? The map. And then with loading, I want to do a similar thing. Load input map. So this load will update this. And this is going to so this to do is going to be get input map for each action and save it. Right? That's the skeleton. Yeah, so for each thing, I want to save the key and the gamepad control for each one. So for each action, I want to get the key. And I don't want to do that. And the gamepad button. So see, what does this do? Yeah, it's an input event. It's an input event. Okay. So in here, I can say if I is input event key, then let's see, we're going to say for each action, we're going to say key equals null, gamepad equals null. If I is input event key, then key equals I. If I is input event gamepad, input event joypad button, then gamepad equals I. Right? So just capture those. So for each action, go through the list of actions that are actually already mapped. If it's a key, assign that. If it's a gamepad, assign that. So that's this. And then here, we're going to save it. So we're going to say input map for that action equals key gamepad, like that. We'll just save an array of the two input events. I think that should serialize it.